The Hermit Slug. Be careful downtown after dark. Those old buildings aren't as dead as they seem. Good advice. It doesn't only apply to potentially dangerous people, such as mentally ill homeless people, gangsters or muggers. The buildings themselves can present a unique danger, one that people can't really prepare for or expect. Meet the Hermit Slug. If you're familiar with the hermit crab, take that creature, scale it up to the size of a building, and give it a taste for humans. Add in some head markings that make its stalks resemble human skulls, and you basically have a walking nightmare. This long, amorphous creature makes its home in abandoned buildings. It'll find one that is mostly clear of debris and completely fill the space with its body. Then it'll secrete a strong acid to dissolve anything left on the inside. This allows it to maneuver around its new home much more easily. Once its home is in order, the hermit slug will hunt and feed and grow, repeating the process over and over until it's too big to fit inside the building. After that, the hermit slug will abandon its home in search of a new one to grow into. In its wake, the creature will leave fragments of its prior meals and a completely wrecked building. The acid that the hermit slug secretes to make the buildings habitable is often too much for the building's support structures. The foundation and support pillars will often be completely dissolved by the time the urban hunter leaves. Speaking of hunting, the hermit slug is a frequent predator. It waits until nighttime and then extends its limbs, reaching out of doors, windows and vents with its long, slimy appendages. These limbs can reach for blocks in every direction, maneuvering around obstacles by touch. Despite the sliminess, the seeking limbs will stick tenaciously to any prey they encounter, allowing the hermit slug to reel in its body parts, food attached. A not-so-easy death by suffocation and slow digestion is soon to follow. Once captured by the slug's grip, it is very difficult to escape. Not only because of the powerfully adhesive properties of the slime, but due to the slime's toxicity. Its paralytic effect quickly overwhelms the prey's ability to escape. Not that the hermit slug gives them much time to work with. As soon as its limb has latched onto a victim, the creature will drag it back to its body very rapidly, slamming them against walls and dragging them over bare concrete floors. This will often knock the victim senseless or even kill them, as the slug isn't fussy about the condition of its meals. If the trip back to its mouth doesn't kill you, being eaten alive will. Contrary-wise, the outbound trip by these tentacles is very slow, just like the slug itself. It tends to only catch people unaware, attacking from blind angles. While dodging the attack is very easy, you need to know it's coming first. Since most of the hermit slug's victims are either sleeping homeless or people under the influence, they tend to be caught unaware. Because the hermit slug is constantly growing and is constantly starving, it will continue hunting the moment it hauls in a victim and begins to eat. In the course of a single night, a slug can capture 10 to 20 human victims, and even more stray animals and pets. The daytime is a lot safer, as the skin and slime of the hermit slug are very sensitive to ultraviolet radiation. The slime will rapidly evaporate, and the slug's skin will dry and slough off. This poses its own problems. As the slime dissolves in the air, it becomes even more toxic in its airborne form. Its paralyzing effect is magnified to the point where it can prevent the lungs from functioning, leading to death by respiratory failure. There is also the danger of letting the hermit slug go unchecked for too long. Because it does heavy damage to the buildings it inhabits, sometimes its bulk is the only thing supporting them. They tend to collapse soon after it leaves. Plus the fact that there is no upper limit to the creature's maximum size other than the volume of the building it occupies. After a certain size, it gets hard to conceal the fact that this thing exists. And the danger is that the hermit slug will find a skyscraper or shopping mall and grow even larger. There are ways to manage the hermit slug, however. Like its smaller, non-anomalous cousin, the slug is very sensitive to heat. So, setting its current abode ablaze is an option. The building is already damaged beyond the point of repair anyway. Another way to contain the hermit slug is to use a vast amount of salt on the creature and let it shrivel up. but using this option will cause it to go berserk, bringing down the building around it anyway. One factor that leads to a hermit slug's inevitable demise is starvation, because the bigger it gets, the more food it needs. As it can only hunt at night, people will eventually grow nervous about the increasing number of missing people and avoid the area. This leads to a food shortage for the slug, and potentially causes it to vacate the area sooner. Imposing a curfew and keeping people indoors after dark will only help keep the hermit slug hungry. It is, after all, a creature, and one that operates based on instinct, meaning its actions are predictable. Its major weapons are its size and the poison it generates. Plan for both of these, and killing it is quite easy. One other thing of note is to take a look at the garbage of any building the slug has resided in. Sometimes it will leave behind eggs that will hatch into smaller hermit slugs. The newly born ones are very hard to find, as they emerge from the egg roughly the size of a human hand, and their flexible bodies make for an easy escape through the sewers until they find their first shells. This is another good reason to burn down the locations the hermit slug has been nesting in. One doesn't want multiple instances of this creature hunting the same area.